Hope you're doing fantastically well, and so does my counterpart here. We are back with the Hardline, your Sunday supplement on your Sunday evenings. Me and Gabe chopping into the Leeds United bits and bats. Let us know what's going on in your world in the comment section below. Gabe, how you doing, mate? All good?
I am pretty much where you were last week. I now have a horrific cold. I'm not on any night nurse.
Oh, mistake.
But well, it is 11 in the morning here.
no.
However, I think I was made to feel a little bit better when I looked at some of those data and analytics about the channel and how well we've been doing over the past couple of months. I gotta say, I'm very pleased to be a part of it. Very proud to be part of the One Leeds fan channel. We're not called the fan channel anymore. Crap, I've messed it up. The One Leeds channel.
Yeah.
But listen, man, how do you feel about this? Let me ask you now, because like obviously you're not gonna come up here and be like, oh, I've got a million views, like a numpty. But I'm gonna ask you, how does it feel?
Yeah, it feels good, man. Apparently, before we get into it as well, Gabe's got a slight echo. Is this true, everybody? Let us know. There's a couple of comments in the section below saying,
for me though? I don't.
Yeah, Gabe's pretty good. We'll go through the YouTube. This is just a consistent theme on this channel at this moment in time. Let's go through the YouTube. Let's have a quick listen before we get into it fully. Let's have a go. Hold on.
It wouldn't be on my side, guys. I have no. It would be on Conor's. Oh yeah,
right.
It is Conor's.
It is
All
the
you digging me out in the comments.
Hold
Once
on.
again,
It is
quick
the echo.
assumptions.
It is the echo. Again. And now I've got the echo. Oh, dude. This is not good. I've no idea if people can hear you.
I think it's sort of got better now.
Yeah, I've no idea. Is this
Although,
better, guys?
There's somebody in the chat called Echo saying 8 days without signing. So very poetic.
Hold on, mate. Let's go through your audio settings. Have a quick look.
You know, if you just get behind the team, Conor, none of this would happen.
This is poor, isn't it? This normally is pretty decent. So I've no idea. I think people are just. I cannot profess to say how this happened the other day. The other day in terms of this getting any better either. So.
I've been working really hard to get people over here in the States to be listening to the podcast, and people in influential places who have been listening to us on Spotify, and now they're going to listen to this intro. And there goes all our American money, Conor. Well,
it's both echoing as well. Hold on.
I don't hear the echo. Do you?
I've literally got no echo whatsoever on my reverb. So this is slightly problematic, I think. Hold on, let's have a quick look. This happened all year. The people will stick around, which is good, because they just kind of want to see the meltdown, which is always decent.
Well, why don't I talk through it so you can sort the audio settings? So one of us can be nattering on with the comments. We want to hear how everybody. Luke says, "Gabe, please shout, let's get ready to rumble." I'm not going to do that. There's no point. Am I going to be doing that? I have nothing to say now. So why is this just me?
Told you it's tough.
Why is it just me? Why have your sound settings sabotaged? You know, you've been talking so much about how this new platform is going to be transformational. But we've had nothing but problems.
This was supposed to be good. It was supposed to be good. We might have to just siphon off back to it.
Why don't I just leave and come back and we'll see what happens?
Yeah, do that.
All right, well, do your little. Hope you're doing fantastically well. Just I'll be right back.
All right, mate. Right, guys, so I've no idea. Am I echoey as well? This is honestly, if you were there for the watch along yesterday, this is the exact same as what it was. Am I fine? So Conor's fine. Gabe is still echoing. Yeah, it's chaos, guys. This is absolute chaos. It was all right. It wasn't bad. When we sorted it yesterday for the old watch along, but it took 20 minutes. Reset, Gabe. I'm fine, apparently. Am I good? My sound isn't great either. I sound slightly raspy. Okay. Does it sound any better now? Guys, we cannot. The annoying thing is you cannot actually figure this stuff out beforehand, because now we're live. Conor, fine. I'm great. Right. I'm going to turn the volume up just a little bit. So hopefully that's all good now. I'm going to speak really further into my mic, so it sounds a little bit better. I just sound weird. Harry, I sound tinny, right? Okay, interesting.
Says no, you sound fine now. No, you're good.
Yeah,
sound everybody.
This is the issue. It's like everybody's like, you sound good, you sound bad, you sound good, you sound bad. It's like it's kind of tricky.
It's delayed. It's delayed.
Can you hear it as well?
No, I hear everything just fine.
Yeah, it's crazy. Look on the YouTube now. Just have a look on YouTube in the background and just see if you can hear it.
Well, mute my mic while I do that so it doesn't feed back.
Okay. Yeah, so Gabe's muted now, everybody. So maybe that was it. I sound metallic. Okay, hold on. Oh God, what is life? What is life when you can't get audio? Hey, what is life when you can't get audio? Am I? If I just do that, how about that? How about that? Now I'm gonna unmute my mate Gabe. I'm gonna bring Gabe back in. I could be better now. I may have got it all absolutely balls up by that. Is that better? Is that better just for me? Tell me right now. And if I sound good, then Gabe will sound good. Jesus, there is a lot of comments. There is a lot of comments. Better. It's on now, much better. Gabe, we're coming in. We're coming in. Gabe's coming in hot. I think this was my fault the whole time around, everybody. I think it's my fault. And this is what happens. You know, sometimes you can take accountability for these things. Gabe's unmuted. I can take accountability for these things. I think that was all my fault. And now I can't hear you. Hold on, now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
My video's not back. Oh no, there we go. Okay, we're good. Yeah.
Are we good?
Everything's
fine. Some celebration?
Everything's fine. Let's just move on. Let's just get to the show.
This is such an... You're so annoyed by this. After we're going to have a debrief and Gabe's going to be raging about this. So yeah, apologies for that, everybody. I had a double audio option on there, which has killed it. I profusely apologize for that. Gabe, how are you doing?
I'm great. Video.ninja. I have some things to say to your back-end engineers.
Just never do it. Never do it. Just literally never do it. It's terrible. What were you saying anyway, dude? What's going on?
I was gonna give congratulations on 1 million views, but at this point it seems inappropriate. Let's just move on.
It's a joke. It's a joke, mate. It's a joke. It's out of sync. It's out of sync, everybody. It will catch up. It will catch up. Yeah. Apologies, guys. That was absolutely terrible. But I would just like to say, on the barrel of the channel, on the overall look at everything that's gone on, I'd just like to say a big thank you. A big thank you to all of you. To be honest with you, it's been an unbelievable month. It's been an unbelievable 6 months as well on the channel. So I'd just like to say a big thank you to all of you for being in and around this as well. To get to like I think it was 1.293. We didn't quite crack 1.3 mil, but for 1.93 for the channel, it's outrageous, really. As I say, we just do this all by ourselves, and it's a lot of hard work. So thank you so much for your support. Appreciate that. I think it's caught up now as well. Right, we're caught up. I thought it would. Gabe, let's get into it, buddy. What do you want to talk about?
What do I want to talk about? First thing I want to talk about is the engineers working on this new platform.
Yeah,
and
apologies.
How they can possibly support a product without back-end support. That's going to do my head in all day. By the way, I work in technology, people. So
yeah, if you don't know, this is why it kind of gets a bit painful when Gabe's here as well, because he's going to really focus on this now. So I apologize to him.
I'm going to focus on this the way you focus on Aronson's performance yesterday. All right, let's actually talk about that free Real match. You know the way I feel about preseason, Connor. How would you sum up in one sentence the way I feel about preseason approximations?
I would say. I don't know if I can do it in one word, but what I would genuinely say
one
is
sentence.
One sentence. I would say to Gabe, it means absolutely no relevance whatsoever.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. I've looked at preseason results. So yeah, that's it. We're not going to talk about this anymore. No, I've looked at preseason results around world football, and they're trash. It just doesn't tell you anything. I've seen people be like, if we start out like this, we're going down. Well, we're not going to start out with Meslier in goal, so I wouldn't worry about that. That said, that also means that if we're like gassing up individual performances, we're probably losing the plot as well. And I'll be the one to say it because you've already villainized yourself, Connor. A sort of good performance by Brendan Aronson preseason doesn't mean that we should keep him or play him. I think what happens to you, and you disagree with me on this, we've talked about this online. I think what happens with Connor is that he gets worried that like people are going to forget. So he just like live reminds people how bad a player is sometimes, even if they're playing well. You've done it with Gruev as well. You're like, yeah.
You tell me. You can I just say, you tell me on the review I did the other day what I said that was bad about Brendan Aronson.
You were being harsh on Brendan
I
Aronson.
wasn't.
You
What did
were.
I
You
say?
were
What did
picking
I
apart his
say?
performance.
Oh, shut up.
You were picking apart his performance.
What did I say? Verbatim. Someone tell me in the comment.
Funny enough, I didn't stop and pull out a notepad and write down exactly the quotes.
All I said was he wasn't great in the all I said was he wasn't great in the first half and he got a bit better and people got very, very offended by that.
What's a bit better than not great?
I thought when Tanaka came into the game,
no, but quantify that for me. What is a bit better than not great?
What do you mean?
If you gave me a meal and I said, this isn't great, and then you gave me the second course, I said, well, that was a bit better. It still wouldn't be a nice thing to say, would it?
Oh my God, I'm not here to say nice things. Flipping it. Like, you know what
you
I mean?
do say nice. Ethan Ampadu could have fallen on his ass. He would have been like, well, he fell down nicely.
Not true. In pre-season, I've said that he's been building towards a good performance. But Brendan was good, but calm down. Like he was
different. Good is different than saying wasn't good, got a bit better. That's what I'm saying.
You're a stickler for language, though.
I am a stickler for language because this is a channel where we say things, right?
Yeah, that is true. We do say things.
You are quite funny. Nah, but I don't think you were completely unfair to him, but it was kind of funny because I was like, oh, Brendan looks okay. Then again, I saw people on Twitter being like, or X or whatever the hell it's called, being like, oh, it'd be a good shot on the wing because he had a decent preseason.
Dude. What else? Can I and we're going into Brendan straight away in the Villarreal performance. What I would say about Aronson is, and we said this last season, I think a couple of times as well, he's played there for the US men's national team. He's evidently better out wide because in the middle of the pitch, in my opinion, there has to be a quicker turn of thought and there has to be better decision making in the middle. Out wide, he's got a little bit more time, and evidently, especially for our first goal, he did really well to get it past the guy. And then he had to go through that second phase of play which Brendan sometimes doesn't do that well. He put a really decent ball in, and obviously we got that first goal, but. Yeah, I think out wide, and look, you'll be able to talk about this a little bit more because of the US men's national team stuff.
Well, he doesn't start, so he doesn't play that much
I know, but I'm talking about what his best position is. I think centrally, there's no way he gets anywhere near it. I think wide left or wide right, potentially, there's an option for him, but it's not for me. But look, he played okay. He played well.
Well, Conor, what you're saying has a lot of legitimacy, right? So when you're in the middle, that there are 8 different points of direction that you can be pressured from, right? You have 2 diagonals, north and south. You have a true east, a true west, north and south, right? It's just more things coming at you. And so your pace and speed of thought has to be better. Your physicality has to be stronger. It's why
it's miles better on the ball. Have to be miles better.
I mean, playing central, even if you're in a 10 or an 8 or even a 6, it's difficult because they hit you from all angles. On a winger, you eliminate 50% of those inputs, right? So maybe that's why stereotypically wingers aren't maybe, and I'm not saying Brendan's not intelligent, it's not what I'm saying, but maybe wingers don't have to always be the smartest of players. They can just bomb up and down. But that's what I'm saying. There's just fewer inputs to come at you. Like you don't have to process quite as quickly.
We've got to pick up the other comments as well. Matthew says Conor's got an agenda against Brendan. He thinks he's crap, so anytime he plays well, he refuses to talk about it. It's funny to be fair.
You do talk about it, but I don't think here's the difference between having an agenda and having a bias. Let me just talk to the people here.
Don't have a bias either.
Let me just talk to the people here. God. What I mean by an agenda versus bias. An agenda is based on absolutely nothing. You've just made up your mind, and this is the narrative you're going to stick with. A bias is you have a way of thinking, and it influences everything you see, right? And so I think Conor has a bias against Gruev. And against not against Anthony, not quite the opposite actually, and against Aronson. That's what I think. But I don't think it's an agenda where he sits down and says, "Do you know what? No matter what happens here, I truly just think he'll make a decent play, and Conor will say, well, he should have done this." That's what I think.
I personally, Matthew, as a nigh on nearly 32-year-old male, Matthew, if Brendan Aronson comes into a game yesterday against Villarreal, a top 6 supposed Finnish team, a team that's going to finish in Europe, if you're to believe the La Liga media, and Brendan Aronson tears Villarreal apart, I am not going to sit here and go, do you know what? He's crap. Get rid of him. I don't like him. It should be Ramazani. I'm not going to do that, Matthew. I'm going to turn around and say, do you know what? That was unbelievable. Unfortunately, yesterday,
No, but you will say
I
you will
didn't
say that was
feel
unbelievable. However, he had a couple touches in the final third that I thought could be better. That's what you do.
he wasn't that good. He wasn't that good. And look, I thought Gruev came on. A lot of you think I've got an agenda against Gruev. Gruev
Bias
came
against
on
Gruev.
as part of a back three, and I thought he was playing a lot more progressive passes. I thought he was decent in almost on that left hand side, which enabled Goodmanson to get forward a little bit, which helped Leeds' build up play. And I've got an agenda against Gruev. I thought he was
Bias.
really good. Okay, bias. Peru. I thought his hold-up play was a lot better yesterday. That's my agenda as well. So, look, guys, I don't have an agenda. I'm a fully grown male. I'm not 16 years of age.
Can you admit that you have a bias?
No, I don't have a bias.
I have biases against certain types of players.
Do you?
Yeah, I have bias against young players. 100%.
Strange. Why?
Because I think that young players, especially in this generation, tend to be a little bit more entitled. Like by and large.
So,
for instance,
old
you
man
can say, but listen, you can say, and I think this is a good point of conversation. Is having an agenda is just you've made up your mind, no matter what. Nothing that you see on the pitch could change your mind. For me, I have a bias against Willie Nanto, right? Because I think that I've seen him a lot. I've seen him
Yours is Ampadu.
underachieve.
Yours is Ampadu. That's yours.
No, it's not. I don't buy
is.
into the rhetoric that you guys peddle.
It is. It is.
You and Oscar have said things like he's unbelievable on the ball, and there's just no. And you make me, by extension, sound like I hate Ethan Ampadu, when in realism, I'm just I have a more realistic view of who he is as a player.
Based on your perception. That's what that is.
Yeah, but it's different. It's different because I've said over and over, I think he's really good in the championship. I've never said he's a bad player. You guys go overboard with a positive bias. I have a negative bias against young players who I think play entitled football. That's my bias. So, like, for me, I would love to see Willie Nanto go above and beyond. But my bias is like, okay, so far he hasn't really impressed me. So I'm biased towards criticism against Willie Nanto. It doesn't mean it's immovable. That's the difference between an agenda and a bias. And what I will say is that you are biased against Gruev because his profile of play doesn't excite you.
It's
right?
not true. It's not true.
You don't think that that you would rather, if you had a 6 match in a row retrospective.
Yeah.
Gruev had better match ratings than a player that you liked the attributes of.
Yeah.
You would still start the player you like the attributes of over Gruev.
But the point for that is because I think long term in the Premier League, that player would be better for Leeds United.
That is inherently, by definition, a bias instead of an agenda.
But that's also
that is.
But that's also logical thinking. It's long-term thinking.
Logical thinking would be based on the data.
Welcome
to the One Leeds channel, where we talk about the difference between bias and agenda.
Based on the data, you're talking about if like Gruev was to have a good game, or if Aronson was to have a good game for said 1, 2, 3 game period. I'm looking at Ethan Ampadu and suggesting that over a 20-25 game period, he's going to be better for Leeds United in the Premier League, and we know he is. He's actually
we don't know anything because we've never seen him in the Premier League.
Come on,
but if you're asking me,
nonsense.
And I've never said otherwise. Who do I think is better in the Premier League, Ampadu or Gruev? I've always said Ampadu. There's never been any other answer. Now, if you're asking me against him and Anton Stock, who you were not 100% committed to say would be the starter here over Ampadu.
I've said no.
If you were only playing a single 6, you were a little bit iffy. You cannot imagine a world where Ethan Ampadu sits and Stock starts. We've gone way over the cuckoo's nest here. I've pulled you in my vortex of rhetoric. But, folks, it is important, isn't it? Because when we say someone's got an agenda, what we're saying is nothing that could happen could change their mind, versus a bias is just, this is the way I see things. And it takes a lot of data to sway me. But we are swayable. I think you are swayable. I don't think you have an anti-Brendan agenda. I think you have a bias towards certain profiles of players in certain positions. It wouldn't matter how Brendan did during the season, because I don't think you see him as a true 10. And so you don't want him playing there, no matter how well he does short or long term.
I think this is an interesting conversation because I genuinely think people have this almost like view in general. The word agenda, like bias, is a good word as well, and a good narrative.
We all have them. We all have biases. I tend to be more conservative as a defender. I would rather concede fewer goals than play risky players that don't come back and defend. That's just me as a center half.
But my point is if we are going into a game yesterday against Villarreal, Aronson runs the show. I come on here and I absolutely glaze and gloss about Brendan Aronson. So that for me doesn't inherently mean there's a bias or an agenda there.
I would be here to slap that down because it's preseason.
Yeah,
no
but that's that.
no
And if
what.
Brendan Aronson starts against Everton, if Brendan Aronson scores 2 goals and gets an assist, but I just don't believe that will happen. And that's just my thoughts.
Yeah,
but
and I actually tweeted this out the other day because there was an American that was gussing up Brendan Aronson.
Has to be an American.
No, it was. There was an American that was like said he had this great season for Leeds and was using it. Like, why doesn't he play more for the men's national team? And I was like, well, hang on, like he was 13th rated in overall performance, second in big chances missed. Like, there are reasons to criticize his play. There are reasons to say, yeah, this is okay. He could continue to succeed in the championship. But anyway, the TLDR on that is now that we've talked about your anti-Gruev, anti-Aronson bias.
Yeah. And how you're such a purist thinker, and I'm just like, I've got all these
I've told you I have biases.
Yeah, you do.
I just said I had bias against Willie Gnonto and Ramazan. Well, Ramazani's not a young player. I keep acting like he is. He's 26. Like, he's not young.
He's 26?
Like,
there's no way he's 26.
Yeah, I think he's 20. Check me live, by the way.
Huh?
Check me live, by the way, because I'm not 100% sure, but I thought he was 26.
Yeah.
Gnonto's younger.
Should we get into these comments? Because Chris says, Gabe, save me from the El Canoes nonsense. A young player that has the exact same Aronson record. Hold on, we'll keep that there. If this channel had its way last season, Joseph would be up top and Ramazani would be left wing, and Leeds would still be in the Premier League. How about that? Okay, we'll not get into the certain Leeds channel stuff, Barry. We'll not get into that over here, mate. We won't. But I appreciate that. I think he's 24. Was at the game yesterday, and while we have enough to stay up, it was clear where we need improvements. 100%. Let's have a look at some others as well. I think you both need to go back to school to learn what a bias and an agenda is. Thank you, Vendrick. Appreciate that. What else have we got?
Your brain would rot if you learned how much school I've been to.
And
by the way, can I just say this?
He's far too intelligent for the masses.
Everybody. No. Can I? I didn't say that. Can I just say this though? Please don't come in here and try to get us to talk about other Leeds channels. It's so stupid. Guys, I'm 40 years old.
Yeah, we will not do that over here.
It's so dumb. It's like, please. I understand that that's a YouTube thing, and but it's just not going to happen. So please don't try to.
Yeah, 100%. Jasper says, okay, Gabe. So a young player has the right attitude and is a great player and is a positive addition to the team. Are you still biased?
No. Okay. No, that would. I mean, I would still be biased against other young players, I'm sure, but that would be enough to show me that let's move this player in.
Okay, should we get into the game anyway? Yeah. What did you make? What did you see? What did you think? Let us know in the comment section below as well what you think. Matthew, who's come for me today, says Gabe is a real man of genius. There you go.
Thank you, Matt.
There you go, Matt. It's all about different opinions in here, mate. So there you go. Cheers.
Well, the right ones and the wrong ones. No, I'm just joking. What did I think of the match? Listen, it was a bit of a boring one, I thought.
Yeah.
A nice run out for some of the players. Nice to see that neither preseason nor the offseason could turn Millier into a reliable keeper. So
when I thought he genuinely injured Goodmanson, I nearly punched the screen live on watch long. I thought, is this guy just collateral damage? Like, get him off the pitch.
Yeah. I think that there were actually some things that I thought were nice. I thought some of the quick pass interplay in the midfield was nice. Stock did some of that progressive ball carrying that we talked about a little bit a couple weeks ago. That I thought was nice. Again, though, these are guys working themselves back into shape. I'm not really that bothered. I saw some people melting down about Longstaff. I've seen 15 matches of Longstaff playing really well. So, I don't care if he didn't play well again in a preseason friendly. I care if he plays well in the Premier League. I mean, again, there were no real surprises for me. The one thing I will say, though, is everything I've seen from Strauch this preseason has been not great. And again, I don't put a lot into this, but he seems like a player that's thinking about other things.
Dude, I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch yesterday.
You did?
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant yesterday. First half,
and maybe it's just the way I'm looking at him. Maybe it's just the way I'm looking at him. But they're just nervy moments here and there, and I'm just sort of like
too much bias. I think
I'm the center half.
He's getting him. I think he's gotten. I think he's gotten a lot better. Strouk. I think he's developed a little
You
bit through
do?
preseason. Yeah, I think his ball playing out from the back was brilliant yesterday. I think his aerially he was excellent. I thought he read the game well. Look, I think Strouk and the combination now between him and Roden, I think, is at a level of which I'd be comfortable with them coming in for the Everton game because obviously BL's going to be out for that one. I thought he was decent, mate. I thought he was good yesterday.
He didn't play poorly, but I don't know. He just this is based on absolutely nothing, I guess. But he's playing like a one-away player to me, and I don't really know how to explain that. So
you can't say that and not explain it.
well, because it's just a gut feeling. It's based off nothing, and I wouldn't
Okay.
like if someone was like, "Hey, Gabe, throw some money down on this opinion." I wouldn't because it's probably stupid. But
so when you say one away player, what do you mean? Do you think what do you think he's? You think he's thinking about moving on?
I think well, if I was maybe it's coming from this position for me. If I were Pascal Strouk and I saw us bring in physical, tall center halves,
Mm,
right, knowing that it's going to be we didn't bring in Beal not to play, right?
mm,
So and so it's going to be either me or Joe Rodon in terms of like the pairing last year and the season before remaining.
yeah,
I would think I'm probably the odd man out based on the as you'd say the profile of player. And then
you'd be
I'm
right.
thinking, well, I actually think I'm a really good center half that could play at a high level. Maybe I don't need to be sitting on the bench hoping to get a last 20 minutes, depending on if we're ahead
I
or
think it works in a
behind.
three. I think it works in a three at the back for Leeds. I think there's more cover as well. I think it
But I don't
works.
think we're going to play a three.
No, I don't, but I
I
think
don't
it
think so.
works. I think it
Yeah,
works.
it does. But like in a realistic scenario, if I was maybe that's what I'm seeing is I'm just kind of like if I were Pascal, I'd be angling away
Mm.
because I just don't think he's probably too good to be a third option. To
He
be
is too
honest.
good. He is too good to be a third option. 100%. I agree with
So
what you're saying.
so
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe it's just that for me. To address like there was nothing that he did in the match that was like it was bad. But every time I see him, I'm just like I wonder if he'll actually be here. I think that's what it comes down to. You've made me talk through my feelings like a therapist.
Quality views, quality program. Thank you, Tim. Really appreciate it. Jimmy Glass, the goalkeeper says, with BA playing in the cam. Oh, Jimmy, don't do that to me. My bias will just have to come to the fore. You are the sole creator, and Brendan is not that. He is good at getting you up the pitch. Yesterday, he was our best attacking player. Fair enough, mate. Kirsch says, do you now agree with me that Farke doesn't see Largy and Willie as starting wingers? He wants James on the right and a new left winger. I think Kirsch that
He certainly doesn't see Largy as a starting winger. No, we can't spin it any other
no,
way. He does not.
no, he definitely
Yeah.
doesn't see Largy out there. I would argue that when Largy came on, it looked a little bit more. I think Leeds looked a little bit more dynamic. We looked quick up front. Obviously, you saw that Largy snapshot, which the goalkeeper had to make a quick save to his right, which we hadn't been doing all game. I think he brings in moments of electricity, I think, as well.
Mhm.
I know he mentioned Solomon after the game. Look, we don't need to get into the Solomon Ramazani thing, but I don't think you miss that much when it comes to Ramazani and Solomon. I think they're equal in terms of output, probably at Premier League level.
Oh, boy, you're gonna get pelted for
Now I'm
that.
going to get killed for that. Yeah, 100%. But the context is it's Premier League level, is what I'm
Do you
saying.
want to revise your statement?
Should I
or
go
add
back
to
on
it at all? I think
that?
you might want to.
Should I go back on that? Yeah, yeah.
Maybe.
Who's got more goals at the top level? That's what I'd say. So yeah, I think when you look at Largy and Willie, there's definitely a left winger coming in. I think it's interesting, Gabe, that he's not played Willie out wide right that much. He's put James obviously on the right. He's not looking to force Largy wide right either. So it would say to you that he's kind of maybe seeing Ramazani and Nonto as left wingers this season. I don't know if you
Well,
quite
I
see it
think
like that.
I think he prefers Dan James, and I think there's a reason for that, right? What I would like to see from Nanto to overcome my bias, folks. What I'd like to see from Nanto is for him to start on the bench this season.
Mm.
And if Dan James isn't having a great match, Nanto comes on and makes an immediate impact every time he hits the pitch. Because my issue with him has always been application over 90 minutes, consistently match after match. It's never been ability, it's been application. So if he and so far, I mean, it is preseason, so it doesn't really matter. But he has played like he's got a bee in his bonnet a little bit, and I think that's good, right? So if he,
And they both look sharp. Both of them look sharp.
yeah, I think for Willie though, I want to see that ruthlessness. Like when you get a chance on the pitch, like they're going to have to pull me off and look like fools doing so every time I get
Careful.
on. What?
Doesn't matter. Go on.
People have your minds in the gutter, man.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Make it a situation that if he's taking it out of the side, it's a foolish decision by the manager. Nanto's never done that for me, or he hasn't done that for me since his debut 5-6 matches. And for a player of that ability, he should be doing that. So what I'd like to see is him being put into a position where he's behind Dan James, a guy who does put in top effort all the time. I don't think Dan James has the ability that Nanto has. Obviously, he has a little bit more speed, but they're two good options to have. I don't think it's because Farke's thinking, oh, I'm going to now play Nanto on the left and James on. I think it's more that he sees Nanto as his second right winger. That's what I think. And it's on Nanto to displace Dan James. And I hope he does, because I think he's a higher upside player. But if he doesn't, Dan James deserves that spot, because I think he applies himself more consistently.
Lodi says, I'd like Nanto to get games as a striker. I'm not saying he's better than Peru or Nemecha, but would be an option if we lose Joseph, Joffe, and Bamford.
Imagine putting some balls into the box, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on, Willie. Go get him.
Gabriel and Saliba in the middle.
What's his vertical leap? I would love to know that.
Yeah, probably gets about 5'4", doesn't he? Largy is a better option than Harrison. Nanto did it when he replaced Harrison at QPR last season. Yeah, Tanaka has to start. If we start Longstaff. Yeah, Tanaka will be a missing part of the midfield. It was interesting, I thought, yesterday. I thought Stack was brilliant. I did think when Tanaka came on, there was a complete change in Leeds' just split through the midfield and us breaking lines. I thought Tanaka yesterday against quality opposition, you're kind of looking at it and going, okay, yeah, this guy maybe needed. And the only reason I mention that is because in those half spaces, Tanaka's so good that it felt like at least further forward when, we've been speaking throughout the, through the window of if you wanted to go for Enciso, Hamer, El Canoes, it feels like you need someone to either drop deep in those half spaces to bring Leeds up the pitch, or just have that guile as well to, feed the front man or feed the wingers. It felt when Tanaka came on, he was that conductor and orchestrator again. And as much as I absolutely loved Stack's performance yesterday, loved, Ampadu, I thought was much better yesterday. Longstaff was good in his own sort of respects in terms of, that box to boxness, which we've expected from him. It did feel like Leeds needed Tanaka at some point yesterday. And I was doing the watch along and everybody was saying
they're going to have to sort the chemistry out.
Yeah. But it just
a little bit of time.
But it just, I don't know if like I would, like me and you've just quite rightly said, in terms of a 6, that's where you're looking at Stack. I don't want to rely too much, especially if we're playing a 4-2-3-1, on Anton Stack doing those bits. I think we need.
Did you see us attacking a 4-1-4, a 4-1 a couple times? Did you see that?
Yeah.
And I quite like that. That's like my favored. I don't mind defending in a 4-2-3-1, but attacking in a 4-1-4-1 is, I think, is really quite smart. And
I thought we looked better at the back when there was like a 3 building up when Grove was on the left and almost Goodmanson had that license because he had a bit of cover behind him. I thought we looked really good building up with a 3 at the back.
But it's going to be really hard to say too, because again, in preseason friendlies, nobody's getting really tight, nobody's pressuring too hard, nobody's trying to get hurt.
Gabe, it's not long now, mate. It's not long. It's not.
Yeah,
long
it is.
Now,
I just like for instance, I just don't. What you really lack in these games is match intensity.
Well, so where? So what game then? Is it Milan? Are we?
No, it's Everton. It's Everton.
Right.
That's when we're going to know what we have.
So we have nothing. You're not sort of looking at any game, even like on and off the ball partnerships, anything like that. You're not looking at any game like that in preseason. It is literally just about Everton, and Leeds could put in.
Looking at it, what do you mean by looking at? Like to make assumptions, or to like?
I think so.
If I was the manager,
yeah, I think so. It's not like I think by the obviously I know, look, we played yesterday, but it's 3rd of August. The game's on the weekend of the 15th. It's coming up,
Yeah, I
think. I don't know. I don't know why I've frozen there.
Me neither. But it's a nice, flattering photo.
I'll beam myself back in, Scotty. Hold on.
Yeah, I think. So it depends on who's evaluating Conor. If the manager's evaluating, he's going to be evaluating more based on what he sees in training versus these exercises in preseason. I get it that as fans, all we have is what we see, right? All I'm trying to say is, I would not, as a fan, be making assumptions or calculating how we think we're going to roll out, how we think we're going to look based on what we see in these preseason matches. I just think it's a fool's errand.
Right.
It's a bridge to nowhere. That's what I think. It's fun to talk about, and it's fun to but again, if we were evaluating things yesterday, then why was Melier playing? You really think Daniel Farke is evaluating Melier?
I think it's stupid that Melier was playing anyway. I don't really understand
Melier is
it.
playing for fitness. That's what I think he's playing for. If he transfers, fair enough. Like, Perry's got a knock. He already knows what he's seen in Darlow. Maybe he's shop windowing. Who knows? But it just doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, in the same way, I know I keep bringing it up, but in the same way, like, I never thought that we played Leo Yelda as a holding midfielder, but Farke did in preseason. You know what I mean? So it was just sort of like, who cares? It's just sort of like to get the guys out smelling the grass again. So I'm not going to look too into how someone played under certain conditions against certain teams, because Villarreal is not going to play that way in a competitive match. We're not going to play that way in a competitive match. We weren't pressing or doing the things that we do in a Premier League match. So all that to say is, I'm not saying don't enjoy, don't watch, don't hypothesize. I'm just saying that we're not going to know how we're really going to play and who's going to be playing what role until like week 1. I can still hear you. Yeah, seeing you is today. This has been a tech day from hell. Yeah. This hosting platform is we might have to go back to to what's it called?
To go back to
StreamYard.
StreamYard. Yeah, this is very, very jarring. But yeah, no, I think it's interesting right now when it comes to. But it's just going to figure itself out in terms of lag. So apologies, people. But yeah, hopefully when it comes to Leeds, there's going to be a little bit further going forward in terms of transfers. It's probably poignant for us to touch on that, Gabe. I think as well a little bit previously. Maybe we talk before we get onto Farke's comments about the injuries. It looked like it was Bogle. It looked like it was a fair few. Obviously, Joseph's not in his plans anymore. Bamford's not in his plans. He mentioned that again.
I do think I love that he mentioned it again.
I know, yeah. He was a bit like
so harsh.
Daniel,
like,
we know.
It's just like,
we know
out
Daniel.
of nowhere. It's sort of like, listen, I know this isn't a legitimate criticism. This is more just a joke, but it's like, he'll be like, Daniel, how was your dinner today? And then he'll tell you about like the crap restaurant down the street that you didn't ask about. He just lets things out. It's really funny. I felt bad for Bamford, but yeah. I mean, we have work to do left. I mean, there's 2 types of signings I want to see: marquee attacking players and some cover for the fullbacks. I would like to see a competitive fullback who could push Bogle. It'd be nice to have an ambidextrous fullback who could play both right and left. That'd be great, because I don't necessarily believe in Sam Byram as your backup left back at Premier League level. But again, I mean, listen, every single transfer window in the summer, teams at the Premier League level are doing business up to the last day.
Yeah.
So just this part and parcel of being in a league that's this competitive and with players that are this expensive, these players are going to hold out to see what clubs are in for them and their agent and what fees they're paying their agents and what their wages are going to be, because that's what professional athletes do. And they're probably going to wait till the last gun is fired to make their decision. And that sometimes that means you can't do all your business in the beginning. Sometimes that means you lose out on your big ticket player that you really want. And here's the thing, guys. And I talked about this on Twitter. There seems to be this. I blame Victor Orta for this and that stupid documentary, because there seems to be this idea that professional football clubs do business on one phone with one team at a time, going after one player at a time. That's not how it works. Real clubs don't do that. Victor Orta might have done it. I just imagine. I think that sometimes we're like, why are we wasting time with this one player? Why aren't we talking to these other folks? Like, do we think there's like a single person, Underwood's in a room with like a landline phone? He's just like, well, I can't talk to you right now because I'm on the other line with, these deals are all happening together. And our fan base on one hand loves to say, well, the 49ers move in silence, which we don't necessarily know all the time whether it's true. But you can't say that and then say, well, why haven't we heard anything? Meh. You know what I mean? Just wait till the end of the window. It's stressful. I know we would love to have all this stuff done by the end of July. It's not realistic. It's not. It is not realistic that we are going to have all of our business and all of our most impactful players done by the end of July, beginning of August. It's not. So it's stressful. I don't like it. It's real.
Yeah. Stevie said, you can hear me okay, can't you? It's just the visual.
Yeah. And to be honest, on the live feed, it looks okay. You're a little bit laggy, but it looks okay. Just
Right.
on our screen, you just
dude, no idea. And it's just decided. It's just, by the way, it's just decided to do this 40 minutes in, so that's great. If we don't get the 4 players needed before the end of the season, that's irresponsible. We need 3 players, and very quickly. I guess that kind of moves us on quite nicely, Gabe, to Daniel Farke's comments. Farke specifically referencing that they need more attacking players in. They need more players in. Leeds effectively, if you're to read between the lines, aren't ready right now for the Premier League season.
No, we're not.
And it's quite funny, actually, because I got a bit of, there's a bit of rebuttal to this in the comment section, and people said, Conor, you've been back in the 49ers all the time.
Because so far so good, but there's still work left to do.
100%. And I just said, I was saying it on social media. I said, look, 2 things can be true. You can turn around and say the 49ers have done a good job, but they still need to do work. That's it. There's It doesn't have to be
a full window.
It doesn't have to be one side or the other. And it's
there's 2 halves of football. If we play well in the first half, you're not going to say we don't play well in the first half. Well, but you still have to play the second half.
Of course you do. You don't get to this point. You don't get to the 3rd of August and you have to cast your thoughts. You have to say what you think about the ownership and the manager. It has to be Farke out or Farke in, and 49ers out.
Stop the count. It's going well.
You can just say 2 things can be right in football. And for me, it's got to a stage where the 49ers think have done a good job so far. They've missed out on a key target in Pajau that has blown up in our face. But if we're being brutally honest, and you're looking at that game yesterday, I think it was drastically missing a Maverick. We're drastically leaning a little bit of pace in the final third as well. There was dire need for a fullback cover when you're looking at, obviously, Sam coming on and Schmidt struggling a little bit in that game. It's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know that it blew up in our face. Like, we tried to get a player and we didn't get him.
Yeah,
that happens.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I'm glad we're trying.
Well, bring in the comments as well about there was a comment earlier on. I think it was one of our loyal subscribers, Chris Allen, who said, "Gabe, please effectively teach Conor and say,
teach Conor about what?
El Canoes isn't effectively the player for us." So
why would I?
There was a comment effectively saying, "Look, Gabe, can you give the other side of the coin and say El Canoes, isn't the right signing if we were to go for him?" But I know you don't believe that, so it's going to be
no. I don't. It depends on what we're going for him for, and for how much money. Just like everything, would you pay Pajau money for El Canoes? No, you wouldn't. Would you add him, thinking that he could be more successful in our environment than the other ones, based on what you've seen actually watching him play versus just the stat line? Sure. Is it a risk? Absolutely. So I don't think he's your marquee signing. I think he could be a very good addition. So could Mateus Fernandez. I'm not 100% sold on either of them, but I don't necessarily think they're bad shouts. Do they lift the ceiling of your team and lift the floor? That's debatable. But it really depends on the money you're spending. If you go for a guy like El Canoes, you'll have more money in other positions. What's much more important to me is that we get a really good striker in, and one more kind of marquee attacking signing. It could be in a central position. It could be out wide. But no, I'm not gonna say that he's not good enough for Leeds. But if it's a situation where we're bringing in like an El Canoes, a Solomon, and like a striker that's not quite to the level of Muniz, it'd probably be, there's a lot of risk there. Yeah, 100%. If that's what you're looking for, sure. He's not the begin all end all. But again, August just started. Bigger attacking players in terms of their monetary value. Again, they hold out for all kinds of reasons. It's going to be a slog, and it's going to be high stakes. That
they've got to at least get 2 players in my opinion, in the attacking sense, before Everton. I mean, this whole talk.
Yeah, I mean, you would like that ideally, 100%.
But he's not going to effectively come out and say verbatim what the club expects and what the club need, etc. ASAP. But what he was saying, if we're just to take his language on that, Gabe, if he's saying, look, we need to have this done by the international window. I don't think it's reactive and too emotive to say that we need to be getting a win against Everton with the games coming up afterwards in terms of Newcastle and Arsenal. You don't want to be going into the third or the fourth game, I should say, struggling for points. You need at least, I think you need to beat Everton. I think that's realistic right now. I think with the games coming up, the unlikelihood of us beating a Newcastle and an Arsenal, I think you can't go into your fourth game struggling. I think you've got to get off the mark. I think Everton's a real opportunity. I think when you look at the home games that we need to be winning this season, I'm targeting Wolves, I'm targeting West Ham, I'm targeting Everton, I'm targeting potentially Forest. You can't just be looking at Burnley and Sunderland. You've got to get
you're right. You're right. But I think here's what I'd say, though. It's important to start out the season well, because you don't want to leave the month of August without a win. And that could very well happen if you don't beat Everton. And that would put a lot of pressure on Daniel Farke, which is not ideal to start the season.
Yeah.
That said, if it's the difference between getting a average striker and a risky central attacking midfielder versus a proven excellent striker and a really, really good attacking player as well, where you wait a little bit longer. Like when we look at the schedule, Everton, Arsenal, Newcastle, those are tough matches. But the month of September, we're playing Fulham, Wolves, and Bournemouth. I'll be at the Bournemouth game, by the way. That's a month where we could win all three, provided we sign the right players. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to put your entire season on Everton, because if you don't upgrade those positions in a substantive way, you can forget about three matches in a row won in September. So that's what I'm saying. You got to get the points where you can get them. But when I'm looking at our actual schedule, Connor, maybe we should go through this. September, there's a possibility we can win all three of those matches. October, we're playing Tottenham. Maybe that's a loss or draw. Burnley, I want to win. West Ham, I want to win. So if you do the right business, because November is going to be a tough month. We're playing Brighton. We're playing Nottingham Forest. We're playing Aston Villa. We're playing Manchester City. That's a tough month, right? So you have to get maximum points in September, October. Or at least make it very competitive. And what you need to do to stay up in this division is average a month. Average a win and a draw every month over 10 months. That's what you have to do, right? Because that gets you to 40 points and you survive. You want to have those peak months because those valleys are going to come. So whereas I do think Everton's important, you don't want to make sure you don't want to bring in high risk, potential low reward players just to have your top squad in line for Everton when you're actually playing to win all three in September. Do you see what I'm saying? Does that make any sense? Am I too all over the place?
No, you're making sense. You are making sense. It's about getting the right.
You have to raise the ceiling of your team for September versus, keeping the ceiling relatively low and raising the floor, because you're not going to have those spike months throughout the season. I mean, look, December is a tough month as well. We're playing Chelsea, we're playing Liverpool, playing Brentford.
It's a horrendous
month.
month.
Crystal Palace, we're playing Sunderland and Liverpool again. You have to have great players to get some results out of there. And if you're going to have great players, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer in the window. That's just going to happen. So it's not our season's down the tubes if we don't beat Everton. But if we don't beat Everton, then we sure as hell better sign some of those great players. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, you've got to get guarantees there, haven't you? You've got to get guarantees. If you don't beat Everton, you've got to go. You've got to go into, like you said, the Fulham, the Wolves, the Bournemouth, and you literally have to bring. And like you've quite rightly said, if we're talking about realism, it's naturally going to put a bit of pressure on Farke to get results, and the team to get results. And the Niners, it's just a whole unit, and you do not want to go into fourth, fifth games struggling for a win. Leeds have to pick up. In my opinion, we have to pick up a win in our first four games. It has to start like that. A lot of it is down to the non-tangibles as well. It's you look at confidence, mentality overall. You do not want to be going into some of these teams. And by the way, we're talking about like Bournemouth as if they're an easy pickup. We're talking about Wolves as if they're an easy pickup. They are not going to be easy games. So these are top. Let's say if they're in the Championship, these are the title charging teams that we're going to be coming up against every single week. But even when you're bringing them down to our standard, so I think a lot of has got to improve. Do you sort of expect it? There's nothing.
The squad has to improve it. Or you're 100% correct that Wolves is an easy game. Fulham's not an easy game. Neither is Bournemouth. But if you take the players that are available now, that would be like an all right signing. Maybe you bring like an El Cadusan. Maybe you bring a Gus Hamer. When you line that team up, I'm not sure that we win those games against those teams. We could, but I'm not sure that we would.
Agreed.
Versus if you get a player like the way we've done with the spine of the team, with the Beal, with the stock, with the long staff, you've raised the floor. And in some cases, you've raised the ceiling. We have to have a couple of statement signings. We've talked about this all summer.
Yep.
I'm not going to, like everyone talks about, we're moving too slow. Guys, if we move too fast and we don't improve the squad enough, it doesn't matter that we sorted our business because we're not going to be good enough. You have to be good enough, and sometimes that takes time.
I think Kanoos is one of those. I think Kanoos is a statement signing.
He could. No, I don't think he's a statement signing. I think he's a good player. He's a good player, and I think he could be great here. But I don't know. And for me, that's not like a statement of intent that like we're gonna play above our station. That's like a statement of best in class for a potentially relegation threatened team. Like that's what that says to me.
Tough. That's tough. So what would be your example of a best in class signing then?
A Muniz.
Well, yeah, obviously, yeah.
A Mitrovic. An unexpected player on loan in the central attacking midfielder position or a left winger position.
Would you take Johnny Rowe?
No.
I'm a bit like that, to be honest.
No, I don't think he's that. I don't think
I can see his. I can see his going for. I can see his. I like Kanoos. I think El Kanoos is a brilliant player. I think 45 chance.
Forget where he's from, but would you take Sara over El Kanoos?
Different, but yeah, I'd take Sara every day. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I know it's been a while since we've heard anything about him, but Douglas Luiz, I think he. I know you're not a massive fan. You and I disagree. I think he raises the ceiling for us. I think if you get like a Douglas Luiz and a Muniz in the team, you can go away to like a Wolves or a Fulham or Bournemouth and win those matches with the spine we have in the team, with the defenders we have in the team, in the midfield. The reality is, and this is tough because like, anything can happen in football. And this sounds like the most common sense thing in the world, but the teams with the better players usually win, So you just have to have better players on your side if you're going to expect to go and win. And I don't want to.
You've got interesting.
You've really good. Yeah,
you've got interesting. You've got interesting expectations though. Like you mentioned, look, this season, I'm not going to dig you out, but you mentioned obviously, Douglas Luiz, which I think is a very.
Well, it's not an expectation. You have to do things that you're not.
No, I know. But you mentioned Paredes, you mentioned Grealish, you mentioned Mitrovic. I want to know right now when it comes to Leeds United, what would almost give you that firm grip that you would turn around to me and we'd be doing a hard line in however many weeks' time, or a couple of weeks' time, potentially before the Everton game, or maybe later on. And that's a statement signed of which you come on here and you go, Conor, I'm now confident. I am now confident that we're going to scrape 17th.
No, here's the thing. I don't believe this in the scraping 17th. I don't.
Okay, for aim for 15th then. Aim for 15th.
No, so here's what I'd say, Conor, because of season after season we're seeing, and it's only been 2 or 3 years of this, but it's still what we're seeing. We're seeing the bottom three and a huge gap with the rest. Those teams are 40 points above, and the rest of them are in this muddled. That may not be the case with Sunderland. I mean, they're sort of doing the inverse of what we're doing. They've really upgraded some of their kind of young, exciting players. I think the spine of their team still needs a lot of work, but they're still working. We need a team in order to ensure survival that could, on paper, what I mean by on paper is like without playing, just looking at the team, could be a mid-table team. When you look at it and you say that's a mid-table team, because that team maybe scraped 16th, 17th, 15th, 14th.
Aim high and expect lower potentially.
You have to, because when you look at the margins, you're talking about 2, 3, 4 points between those like 17th through 14th places. So you can't say you're really competing. You're not just competing against Burnley, Sunderland, and one more team. You're also competing against Bournemouth. You're also competing against Everton. You're also competing against Wolves. You're also competing against Fulham, because any one of those teams, like West Ham, any one of those teams could have a couple of lucky results or a couple unlucky results and be right in that zone, because that's how close the margins are. What you don't want to be is in a position where Southampton was last season, or where Leicester was last season, or where Ipswich were last season, where there's no chance. You're just down, But it's not easy in the rest of that group. I keep flashing my hand here like there's a table. Like I'm looking at a table and I'm touching it. But do you see what I'm saying? So you have to aim. In order to do that, you have to do things that are not expected of a team that's starting from zero and is recently
hard, Gabe.
promoted.
That's
It is hard,
very,
but you
very
have to
hard
do it
that.
if you don't want to have a heart attack all season. Think about this. See, you and I just talked about that Birmingham City documentary. What did they do to make sure they went up? They did stuff that they weren't expected to do, right? They went and bought players that you're not supposed to be able to buy in League One. Now, it's not quite the same.
Yeah, they've got no PSR as well.
Okay, but our PSR situation is not that bad, Connor. We have, again, everybody said we have this budget of 120 million. We haven't even sold players, right? Let's just operate under that assumption that that's true because it's been thrice reported, but between 120 and 150 million. We've not spent that yet. We have the money, and that money would bring in a big player. You have to sell the project, and you have to do everything you can to get a player like that in. They almost did it with Pejao. It didn't work out, but you have to keep shooting for that level. If you just settle in because you can move these players in before Everton, you're setting up yourself for a very difficult season. And maybe you squeak it out. Maybe. But it's going to be Heart Attack City the entire year.
You're saying that we've got to play the long game here.
You have to play the long game for a big fish this summer. Yes. Yes. You can't just say, all right, well, let's bring in El Canus, let's bring in Hamer, and that's our window. Like, and maybe some backup fullback, and that's our window. You have to, if it takes till deadline day, those guys are still going to be, the guys like that are still going to be around. But the guys like Muniz, Mitrovic, Luiz, some players on loan.
Do you go for maybe? Do you fancy Ivan Toney? Maybe bring him back. England World Cup coming up. Maybe.
Is that realistic? I think that would be
I don't think it's
trolling me now. Does that make sense to you? Like if you come in with a squad that looks like it's a bottom half squad and you're just trying to beat one team outside the bottom three for position, you're going to go down pretty much. So that's what the odds would tell me. You're going to go down. You have to position yourself to be a mid-table team because all those teams in the bottom half on paper are mid-table sides. Look at that West Ham team. They're stacked compared to the recently promoted sides. Stacked. So maybe Brentford go down, get hit this season. These other things are happening, but like on paper, most of these teams are far better than us right now.
Oh yeah, no, they all are. I think they all are. I think, well, aside from the two that we've come up with, 100%. And I think a lot of people talking about Amanda Broia at Burnley. I think that's a terrible signing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too.
I think Sunderland
seems ready to be yo-yo, and that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I think when you look at Sunderland as well, obviously their preseason's not been great, but like Gabe's obviously quite rightly said as well, you can't just base everything on preseason. But there is still a lot of youth there. Granit Xhaka has got to web that stuff together when it comes to that Sunderland side. But Leeds,
we won a whole bunch of preseason matches with Marsh. I'd trade any one of those preseason matches for more wins during the season.
Yeah. I mean, I guess with Farke, we did exceptionally well, didn't we, in preseason, and then carried that on into the full season stuff. Right. So, West Ham signing Callum Wilson, does that bother you? Not really. No, not really. I think if we'd have brought Callum Wilson in, I'd have probably been slightly concerned, to be honest with you, in terms of his injury record. Telly says, boys, how many minimum inbounds do you think we need? Good question, Telly. Good to see you in there, mate.
3 minimum. Fullback, attacking player, striker.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I want more, but minimum means bottom, right?
Yeah, if you can bring in if you can bring another midfielder, that'd be amazing. And obviously, you know, Gruev bringing another midfielder to replace him and just a better standard. And then fullback 10 or left winger, and then a striker. I think left winger, they won't look at that anymore because of, you know, what happened with Pejao, and I think that was maybe a bit more of a market opportunity. I don't think we'll go for another one.
Yeah, he's a guy that elevates your entire team.
Yeah,
he could be a world-class player in a couple of seasons, and so that's why you go for him.
100%. Yeah. Anything more to say? Do you want to talk about anything else?
Do I want to talk about anything else? Woodworking. My musical choices.
Right, we'll end it there. Right, guys, thank you so much. Apologies for my stream. Don't know what's been going on. Apologies for the technical bits. If you have just joined, there's over 1.1k of you in the building. Please slap a like on the video. Check out our sponsors. And what we will do, everybody, is because of the unfortunate technical issues, if you are watching this right now, I will put timestamps in the video, so it'll take you away from the absolute chaos at the very beginning where we're struggling to get any form of visuals on the screen. So apologies for that as well. And yeah, let us know what you think in the comment section below. We'll be back next week with a much better technical, efficient version of the Sunday supplement that is the Hardline. It's been